Dan Abbott. I'm making this video to show you how to approach the process of setting up an auxiliary view, secondary auxiliary view drawing. And it's going to look like this, or at least something like this. There's the part done in SolidWorks. This is what the drawing itself will look like when you're done. Auxiliary views are views that are projected at an angle. So there's one here, there's one here. This is actually two primary auxiliary views. So in order to do that, though, what you need to do is create a few planes in order to draw this in there accurately. So what I'm just going to do is go through and show you the process for constructing this model, and then pulling the auxiliary views off of the model as well once you get a model done. One thing to note, that auxiliary views are always partial views. You don't show everything, because much of what you would be showing is distorted. Front view in this particular case you can just show with a short break line, because it's only the base of this that's going to be shown in true shape in the front view. So this collection of views is correct for setting up auxiliary views. So let's go to SolidWorks. So here's a model. It's already done with the tangent edges showing. So what I'm going to do is just roll it back. The best place to start this is with the base. You start it drawing it from the front, and all you're doing is sketching in the shape and then extruding it. And the shape you want to sketch in on this is the shape that shows in true shape in that front view. Take advantage of the fact that it's symmetrical side to side. Put a center mark that comes down, or a center line that comes down through it like that. And in this particular case, when you do the extrusion, you can do a mid-plane extrusion. It'll be helpful in this case because the base of this is symmetrical, even though the top part is not. So mid-plane extrusion makes sense on this. Now you have to put in a few planes. First plane I would put in would be this one. If you note, this is right down through corner to corner, because that's where the center line shows when you look at this part right here. So in other words, I'm putting a plane that comes right down through here. Actually, it doesn't go corner to corner, does it? It's offset a little bit. And we know how far it's offset as well. It's right there. It's offset by 0.25. Okay, so we'll go back and take a look at it. That's why we have two planes here. This one went straight down through. In order to identify this, I used the front plane as my beginning plane, then did a 45-degree angle, and then I picked as a second reference this edge right here. So it went 45 degrees through that edge when it was down, and that's why it looks like that. Now this plane offset from that one, and I offset that plane 1¼ inches. To tell you the truth, I've got to go and check and see why. 1¼ inches from the corner over to the side. Got it. So yeah, so you have the 1/4 inch here, the diagonal that would come all the way down through here, the 1/4 inch to the right, and then in addition to that, the 1 inch from the center axis of this over. So 1 plus 0.25 is 1.25. So what I'm going to be doing is sketching the next shape, the one that comes down like this, and then sketching that shape on that plane. So that's why I have those two planes. Now the boss extrude, the next one, you can see started on that rear plane. And if we look at the sketch of that, it should be pretty clear right from there. So that's why you need an auxiliary view, because looking at this, there's your true shape right there. So that's pretty straightforward. And then once you do that, starting in that back plane, you need to extrude it the width of that whole thing. A couple of chamfers for those corners. Got a hole that goes all the way through. Fillets on the corners. Fillets all around the part. Now we have a counterbore. Why do we have a counterbore? Find out. Oh, counterbores for the corners, the holes in the corners. So you have one counterbore right here, and that's going to be done with the hole wizard. So if we take a look at the hole wizard on this, it's a counterbored hole. I think I probably used custom sizing. I did. Use the dimensions given for the hole size, the counterbore size, the counterbore depth. 118 degrees, but there's it's not a drilled hole. It's going to go blind. No, it's going to go up to surface because we do want the hole to go all the way through. Now once you've got one, you mirror that to that side, then you mirror that to this side. Now you've got your part. Now once you've got your part, you can set up your drawing. Set up a drawing. We'll go ahead and make a drawing from this part. And I'm going to browse for a title block. And by browsing for a title block, I mean go and get one of the title blocks for the school. Don't use any of the SolidWorks title blocks that get shipped because they're awful. So we'll go to the mechanical design class, templates, SolidWorks files, templates. Drawing is done in inches. If we need B size on this or not, let's go with B size. Click OK. Yeah, they eliminated the Roman S font as an available font in SolidWorks. So anyway, that has the Roman S font. And I brought it in from AutoCAD and it worked for a long time, but we use a temporary font. It comes in like this. So now what we're going to do is start with the front view. So the front view looks like that. Now, as far as bring it in, we'll go over and set the scale at 1:1. Now what I'll do is to create just turn that eyeball off. What I'm going to do is to create a partial view by cutting across here. And when I do cut across here, it's going to end up creating a shape that is only limited to the area that I surrounded. So I've just done it, sketched in a shape that has a kind of a short break line feel to it here, just to enclose the area that I want to keep. Then I go over to drawings, and I'm going to use a cropped view on this. Now it crops like this. Now that line right there should actually be a thick line. If you really want it to be a thick line, what you're going to have to do is basically sketch a spline right on top of it, because there's no way to make that edge. There's no way to get rid of it, and there's no way to make it a thick line. So you could, if you wanted to, just go and do a sketch, grab the spline command, and then start by just creating the spline right on top of what's there. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck, so you can also just leave it. There's just no way to make it thick in SolidWorks. So now we're going to go ahead and put a top view in place. So now we'll do the projected view. The reason I crop that first is just to give myself enough room between the two views. So now we'll kind of move this over here like that. We need room on this side and room on that side. So now that we've got these things set up, we'll go over to drawing and then do an auxiliary view. And the auxiliary view requires us to select an edge to project from. We're going to go 90 degrees to the edge we project. So you notice what that does is it brings that in over here. Now we don't need all of this, so I would do the same thing. I would just use you don't have to necessarily use a spline on this. Just kind of, sometimes it's a little easier to go through and use the spline command to select the things you want to keep. Go back over here, do a crop view. Looks like that. And kind of sticks down into the title block a little more than it really needs to. Also don't need those either as an auxiliary view. So I would go back and modify that. So if we right click on the view itself, go to crop view and edit crop. Now we can edit that spline. So take the spline and maybe move it so that it's probably actually that would be enough of this. Isn't it? Yes, I think it's going to be. So when you do that, and we're all done, go through and you might have to update it to have it look like that. Now, we probably want, in fact we do want, hidden lines over here. We're going to put the hidden lines in there because we actually need the center line of that hole the way I showed you to set it up. Now the other one on the other side, you have to be a little bit careful. If you do an auxiliary view on this one, pick that edge right there, it works. That's funny, because that is at an angle. The last time I tried this, I could not get it to project correctly unless I picked one of these lines out here. So, you know, once in a while things improve in SolidWorks. There you go, that's what I want. Go back here. Yeah, see that edge right there actually goes down at an angle. So in the past, when I've selected that, it has not done that. Alright, well it does it now, which is what I want. Now you don't need that, so we can go ahead and get rid of it. In fact, in this case, I think we can just delete it. And you can get rid of that as well. It's going to happen. Just pick it and then press the delete button. So this one we can also crop off. And you do that the same way, or you could even, in this case, you might want to sketch right on the line itself. Come up here, come over here, and come back to there, and then use that as your cropped view. Select chain, crop view, looks like that. Now what you can do, because you can see I put it right along top, in this case it's a straight line, it's just a little bit easier to do. Now you can go ahead and sketch a line if you want that comes across where that straight line would be. Put it on a layer that is set up for object lines, and make it a thick layer. You go to the layer command, make a new one. Say we're going to sketch in a few object lines. Just make sure you make it the same thickness, which in this case is 0.35, not 0.25, which is what SolidWorks does. Then you can take that line and put it on that layer. Now you have a thick line here, and then of course don't forget that SolidWorks doesn't create line weights that are correct by default. You have to go over here, go to line font, and change visible lines from 0.25 to 0.35. So now it would look like that. And this is where that should be a thick line. Again, if you want to take the time to trace on top of it, you can. The other kinds of things that you'll have to do involve taking that right there, and you need to rotate that. The way to do that is to select it, then go over in the center mark tool over here and rotate that to 0 degrees. And now it lines up correctly. So you also need to put a center line that comes down through here, and when you put the center line that comes down through here, that'll allow you to put that dimension. There we go. Because you're going to need to put a dimension that is an aligned dimension between that line right there and that line right here. So because you need that dimension, that, by the way, this is set up for millimeters, which is not what we have here. At inches, so that's what you want. And you don't want the 0 in front, so don't forget when you make your changes under options, you're going to use ANSI, but in your dimensioning style you need to go down here and say do not show leading zeros. So remove leading zeros for inches, only for millimeters. Come back out here, and then it looks like that. And this is yet again the glitch that shows up in SolidWorks most of the time, where it said ANSI but it's not really using ANSI. So I'm going to go back to options. ANSI modified is what it's called, but change it to ANSI, pick OK. Now that's what the ANSI system should look like. That's actually a little longer than it needs to be, but you can adjust that. You can bring it in closer. The reason I changed it is because you don't want a line going all the way through. Then here is a case where you can overlap the extension line. You should be able to. There shouldn't be a gap there, even though SolidWorks puts a gap there. And normally you can grab the end point of the extension line and drag it up and do that, but it also can be recalcitrant and not go along with it, especially when you do this. Yeah, this is SolidWorks thinking it's doing it. Oh, okay, you can slide it up. It stays put. So, you don't want a gap there. What you want is a center line coming all the way down through. Anyway, that's how you're going to go about setting this thing up. Don't forget to fill out your title block. Put all your dimensions in. You don't need labels on auxiliary views if they're done correctly. You can pull that away if you want. But you notice it has to line right up with the view that it's projecting. I think that's everything that you need to know. And then follow the way I dimension this, and if you do, it'll be dimensioned correctly. So you'll have your dimension spacing will be correct, The dimensions you put on here will be the right dimensions. Use a symbol for the holes. Draw that center line coming down through because that's what lines this right up here. And then again, there's this offset from here, and I could have put the offset on the top view. Why did I put it on the front, on the auxiliary view? Because I decided it was clearer, and I didn't have to bring a line that came all the way down through there like that.